Ananda, you're right. I seem to be naturally kind and caring person. And also, I seem to have some ego identity invested in the having of these qualities. Is this something as yet to be transcended or simply benign dream stuff? A clue is that it feels like there could be more spaciousness and peace and perhaps humor in relationship to this issue. One could say, Ananda, that our innate, natural way is kindness, loving and caring, compassionate. This compassionate, loving way arises out of our wholeness, out of the reality that we are. There is an innate recognition of our wholeness. And so our natural state, our natural way, is to be loving and caring and compassionate. But when we superimpose upon our transparency of being a separate identity that we identify with, when we separate ourselves from the wholeness, then we are subject to the emotions, to the negative emotions, the fear, the concern, the worry. And we seek to free ourselves from that negativity. And we believe that the way to free ourselves is by building a taller fort, and a fort with thicker walls, with small windows where you can shoot arrows at the enemy. But when we do that, we are isolating ourselves more and more. And let's say that we come into this world with a varying degrees of transparency. We all inherit the me belief, the isolation of the personhood. But we don't all necessarily take it on 100%. There are various degrees of transparency, various degrees of identification, the depth of identification. So in some cases, you don't need to scratch the surface too much until you find kindness and compassion. In some others, it's maybe a thicker carapace, a thicker skin.
Mm-hmm.
And this skin is made out of this me, the me impression. The stronger the me impression is, the thicker the skin.
Mm-hmm.
So when you identify with some sort of image,
Mm-hmm.
there is a limitation, because all images are limited.
Mm-hmm.
Even the image of being a kind person or being
Mm-hmm.
a compassionate person.
Mm-hmm.
So in kindness and compassion, there are no borders.
Mm-hmm.
A kindness that has a personal intention, whether it's the intention to get something or to polish one's image,
Mm-hmm.
it's a spoiler.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's good that you are noticing that. Then you're
Mm-hmm.
noticing a certain identification, a tendency for identification. Because what notices this tendency is not identified.
Mm-hmm.
You see,
Mm-hmm.
the noticing comes from a different place than the identification. So it's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, ultimately you are completely free of images, of self-images. You no
Mm-hmm.
longer really care for self-images, and they simply don't arise.
Mm-hmm.
There's just zero interest, and so it, these sorts of thoughts no longer don't arise.
Mm-hmm.
Why would anyone want a certain wonderful personal image when one has the vastness of being as completely free of any images?
Mm-hmm.
All images, no matter how holy,
Mm-hmm.
are limited and separate. They separate because they create an impression of someone. The self, meaning consciousness, is not someone.
Mm-hmm.
It's wholeness of being, vastness of being.
Mm-hmm.
And that is not interested in images, is not interested in being kind or being holy or being loved or being.
It really relates to any positive self.
Absolutely. Yes. To any.
Clever, anything.
Absolutely. Because consciousness is everything. Nothing is excluded. And there is no opposition, nothing that stands a part of it. So there are no contradictions, there are no opposites. And kindness has an opposite. Or say caring, caring has an opposite, which is non-caring.
Mm-hmm.
But the happiness, love, beauty, intelligence have no opposite.
Mm-hmm.
There are no camps in
Mm.
consciousness. The good guys and the bad guys.
Mm. It's kind of a subtle point, but I notice I often say, I hear an echo, but it can't be me because my system's turned off.
There
But
is
anyway,
no echo here.
no? Okay. I notice that I often say, I'm so delighted with, in a conversation, I say, I'm so delighted with what you say, or I'm so delighted that I've met some friends who have an understanding of this Advaita, for example. I'll say things like that, and I say it's subtle because it seems perfectly natural to be delighted, but it's sort of saying that I'm not pure delight, and my own being is complete delight in itself. In other words, so I'm delighted by all these different things. It's a kind of a variation on the same issue, I think. Looking to outside or to something for an enhancement or something.
It depends, It depends. Because you could be delighted without a you.
Yeah, it could be kind of like I'm delighted with beauty. It doesn't mean I'm not the beauty, but it's beauty. Beauty is in an expression, or
It depends what you mean by, when you say I am delighted, what do you mean by I? So if I refers to some person, some body, or if I refers to love, beauty, happiness, awareness, consciousness, beingness, which is delight. So I delight, I'm delighted. I consciousness, I'm delighted. It depends. What is your experience, your inner experience of the I when you say I'm delighted? Because right now I'm delighted to be here. I am delighted. It depends what is your experience of the I. When you say I, what are you referring to? What is the source that is speaking from your experience? And what are you referencing to? Referring to? What are you referring to when you say I am delighted? So the I am delighted may refer to I consciousness, I'm delighted. Because consciousness loves love. And love and delight is really synonymous. It's delightful. Love is delightful.
Right. It could be like there's delight when I see you, which is true. There's delight when I see you.
Yes. So that's that's beautiful. It's not. There isn't any. The expression "I am delighted" is not trying to feed me. It's not saying, "Oh wow, I feel so great. I am delighted. So it's not feeding some personal impression. It's just an expression of delight. I'm delighted. I feel delighted. And so just celebrating the peace and celebrating the love, the beauty. So when I say that, I am not saying that because I need to say that for me, you know. I'm just saying that because it's just beautiful. Just it's an expression of beauty, of love. There isn't any intention, any personal intention behind it. It's just what's being expressed in that moment of delight. So it's like you see people at the airport when they're waiting at the airport and they see their friend or their family member come through the gate. They are jubilant. They're very happy. And they could say, wow, I'm very happy, I'm so happy. But it's not an expression for anything. It's not attempting to feed or maintain or show off the me or reassure me. It's not doing any such thing. So you need to pay attention to what you are taking yourself to be moment by moment. And if you're taking yourself to be a person, a body, mind, ask yourself, what is it that is perceiving this impression? What is it that is adopting this belief? What is it that is saying yes to that? Something is perceiving that and saying yes to that. What is it? What is it? Not just to think about it, but in your direct experience, you come to consciousness, the direct experience of consciousness. When you ask yourself, what is it that is perceiving, whatever it is that is being perceived, you're coming directly towards consciousness. Because it is consciousness that is the true perceiver. And that is not something, is not that meaning consciousness is not something, it's not anything. It's not something it's not a mind activity. The mind activity is something that arises to that which is not something.
So right, so it's where the sense of identity is because I noticed that I was with somebody, we were talking about things we're grateful for. That's kind of the theme these days. You know? You feel good because of thinking of things and I was feeling everything is so wonderful.
What is it that is grateful? You see, I am grateful. What is it that is grateful?
That's it. There could be identity in a small, meaning really, I'm okay because there are lots of good things, and that's one side of. You can lose some of the good things, you know.
Well,
but what's really grateful?
Conditional gratitude, conditional gratefulness. I'm grateful for this and this and this, but I'm not grateful for that and that and that. Then you ask yourself, what is it that's grateful? Then you come to your rule book, to your condition book. You say, oh, okay, well, what is this? It's the rule book.
Yeah.
This is good. This is bad.
Yes.
So gratitude, true gratitude, doesn't come from your personal conditions, does not come from the conditioned mind. True gratitude has a recognition of God in it. There's a recognition of the creation, the vastness of being. That is the creation of everything.
Mm-hmm.
So true gratitude is complete humility. It's a complete humility and the complete abandonment of the person to the universal creator, to God, to consciousness, to the universality of being. So then you can say, I'm grateful. So gratitude is, first, gratitude is this complete surrender to complete abandonment, complete dissolution into the divine. And then you find an expression of gratitude for everything that's arising. So the source of the gratitude is beyond. And when we say, I'm grateful for your lovely company, I'm grateful for your lovely friendship, it's there is a recognition of God's gift. And God gives everything, even the hardships we encounter in our life. Maybe at the time we are experiencing those hardships, there is no understanding, maybe. Or maybe there is, I don't know. But at some time, we come to an understanding, say, oh, wow, these hard times, there was something about them that was really just right. It was I can see, maybe not with 100% clarity, but I can see how these times of difficulty had their purpose in a very deep way. So when you list the things that you are grateful for, who are you? What are you?
So it doesn't necessarily mean not to list or notice those things or share them, but to expand. I mean, realizing it has the capacity to expand to everything and be delighted with everything.
Yes, what are you open to everything being taken away from you? The complete freedom, your complete freedom. If your freedom depends on something, you're not to the full. You're not applying the full understanding of your freedom. You're not savoring the full impetus of your freedom. You are limiting your delight in your infinity. So yes, of course, you can acknowledge all the very lovely, joyful gifts in your life. If you look closely, you will find so many. But you remain in your openness. You remain as your openness. You remain as your freedom. There are no conditions. Those experiences of happiness, or those events in your life, or those situations in your life that are so happy, they are not conditions for your happiness. It's important that you do not place any conditions on your happiness, because any condition upon your happiness limits you.
Mm-hmm. 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 The change of seasons, it looks like you've caught a cold.
Very borderline.
Good. Maybe it just passed by without getting a good grip on you.
Right. Yes.
Thank you. That was a very nice exploration of the thing.
Okay, Ananda. Lovely to see you. Maybe I can reply to a question that was passed on to me. So reading the question, I have to keep reminding and telling myself that I am not the body. It is not automatic yet for me to consider myself to be formless. It's not automatic yet for me to consider myself formless. Will this eventually be automatic? Well, when you keep reminding yourself that you are not the body, what is this I that is reminding you that you are not the body? What is this I, the I, that is reminding myself that I am not the body? When you remind yourself, I am not the body, don't just remind yourself, I am not the body. Notice that is not the body right at that very moment. That transcends the body is so alive and awake and complete presence at that moment. When you remind yourself, I am not the body, there may be an automaticity to that. I am not the body, I am not the body. At that moment, what is the real I? Because the reminder, I am not the body, is only useful if it actually reminds you. If it actually reminds you at that very instant of the real I, the real I that is contemplating, I am not the body. So the contemplation, I am not the body, takes you beyond the mantra. The practice is only good if it takes you beyond the practice. So when you say, I am not the body, if it takes you to that, the awareness that is the reality of the self, at that very moment, the mission is accomplished. At that moment, it is an accomplished mission. So in terms of your question about whether this will eventually be settled, it depends. It depends if your contemplation, I am not the body, is an effective contemplation. Otherwise, it just repeats. And what I mean by it's an effective contemplation, if the moment when you contemplate, I am not the body, you go to what is it that is contemplating that? And you go directly to consciousness. And then that's it. Mission is accomplished. Because it is the body-mind impression that has this idea of progress, that has this idea of the idea of arriving, meaning in time and space. When will I become fully established in presence? That question, when will I be fully established in presence, refers to the assumption that I am a person that is navigating towards wholeness. You are not a person navigating towards wholeness. You are the wholeness of being. Doubts about the truth, about what you truly are, doubts about the reality of the universality of the self, are at a different level. They are at the mind level. What you truly are, where you truly are, who you truly are, is not at that level, is not at the mind level. So as you do your contemplation of I am not the body, at that very moment, go directly to that which is doing the contemplation, because it is the self that loves contemplation, and that is contemplation. Well, I hope this answers in part your question. So if there are any other questions. So, Ananda, you're right. The political arena these days, I choose to ignore it almost totally. I guess you don't like to get entertained. You know, it's a show.
It is a show.
Is there denial or just self-abidance here? You know, it depends. If you get identified, you know, with somebody, with a party, with ideas, with philosophies, with missions. I don't know. I watched the debate the other day with Hillary and Trump. It was entertaining, you know. These characters play. I don't know. You know, Trump talking from his business experience that, oh my goodness, you know, look what's happening to this country. All these jobs, we're losing them. The economy is suffering. Industries are leaving this country. I mean, there is something to that. There is some truth to that. In the whole taxation system and the cheaper labor abroad, that's definitely influences business decisions of where to locate. And the government incentives, I mean, even across states, there are many states that give all sorts of incentives to encourage, you know, companies to settle in their state. It makes sense that at the national level we do the same, because in a way business, meaning people with these ideas to create companies and products and market them in throughout the whole world, are great job creators, and I resonated somewhat with that. I would say that, as a politician, maybe Trump needs a little bit more polishing, the political diplomacy, and can learn a little bit from Hillary, and maybe she can learn a little bit from him about being less political, being more sort of expressing from her heart and from her gut. Now, I'm saying that just, I don't know these people, I'm just watching them. It seems that there is a balance between them that could be reached. But I'm not sure what am I talking about.
It's funny that you went into actual issues, because for me, the whole thing is, well, I guess the question behind the question is, yes, that there's a discomfort over the whole the tone of debate and everything. I mean, I just was talking about being a caring person, right? I see them both as pathological characters. As Secretary of State, Hillary did the bombing all over the world for corporate benefit.
Yes,
just pathetic. Just can't get worse than that. Well, both of them. I mean, greed and whatever. So that's why I stay away from it. Is just the. But I see I have an aversion. I think of the Ramayana, where Ravana, the demon, steals Sita from Rama, or whoever it is, and everything. And finally, at the end of the big production, you see that Ravana was another deity. Playing this part, and so something tells me it's all okay, and something else says it's like I'm happier. Like I feel better inside just staying away from looking at it.
Yeah, well, politics and this entire, governments and nations and Congress and Senate and this whole structure that came out of the human dynamics and out of the human thought,
right?
Has its flaws, and it also serves certain function, certain purpose. So it's I would say that politicians could benefit from contemplating a broader view that goes beyond just our frontiers, beyond just our nation.
Yes.
And to understand that the personal benefit will come from pursuing a higher benefit, from pursuing the global benefit. The personal benefit comes, and it's not from looking at a pie that you have to sort of grab the largest share of the pie.
Right.
That's quite a challenge, because you have to come to that understanding in your own personal life first.
Yes.
And then you can live your understanding.
Yeah.
In your policies, in what policies you stand behind, and what policies you favor. So politicians need to study. They need to study the self more than anybody else.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. There were golden ages, apparently. Maybe it's myth. I think there were times of peace and prosperity in some ancient times where there were philosopher kings
Yes,
and ministers of state who spoke wisdom to the ruler.
yes, yes, absolutely. I don't know how they say it in English. The vizier.
I don't
There
know.
were the sultans. They had the sages around them. The
Yes.
sages that they consulted with, like the elders, to consult.
Yes.
Well, the visionaries, people who have a higher understanding. Um, you know, we honor the person. We sort of venerate this personal achievement beyond way too much. We need to sort of become more humble and to venerate humility and understanding and values that are more universal, less personal, and to uphold the higher values in our politicians.
Mm-hmm.
And they understand that, and they talk the talk, but they, once they're elected, they walk a different walk.
Yeah.
And so it's a disappointment, and you could see that in people just laughing at the whole thing and not even going to the voting booth.
Yeah.
Because public is not stupid. They could see the charade, you see.
The very idea that people need to be governed, in fact, seems absurd to me. I mean, you understand
it's government is not. It's not like somebody's governing you, meaning they have something over you. Government arises out of the people. We choose to be we've chosen to be governed, and in a way, I mean, to a certain extent, we acknowledge by how we live that we say yes to that. Of course, I mean, you can get off the grid, and then you're saying, no, I'm not going to be governed. I'm going to be governed by the sun, by the earth, by
the seasons and
by my own will and my friendships and my who I can gather with me. But in fact, the way we live, we say okay to being governed, and we to a certain extent we agree that there is something good in being governed, because otherwise we would topple down the government.
Well, and there's so much basically egoic, activity and thinking from a separate place of view from the populace at large that it needs a conscience above it, which is the laws. Maybe you can't just take everything. You have to be in some harmony.
Yeah, it's good to have what did he say? Law and order. Was this what he said in his Trump law and order? Yeah, it's good to have some law and order and have a system that works that way. You really want to have that in today's society. It's so complex. But above all, definitely in your personal life, you can live. You can live according to the higher principles, and you spread the love as best you can, not as a mission, just by your being. And governments, I don't understand the discomfort. You mentioned discomfort, but to sort of, it's a show that you don't need to take personally.
Mm-hmm. No, I don't think it do.
And yes, right. And of course, it has absolute consequences on your personal situations. Like, for example, you're in your neighborhood. You may be living in a village you want to go down to the market. It takes you 2 minutes to go to the market. You may find yourself a few years later, it takes you 2 hours to get to the market because they've put in 10 lights. So you have to stop every 2 blocks. You have to stop, and you're just going down to the market to buy some potatoes and tomatoes. So it affects you in a way, but that's at a certain level. It's a certain level where of cause and effect. So cause and effect applies to a certain dimension, and what you truly are is a totally different dimension. So it's equal to what you truly are. To go down to the market and it takes you 5 minutes, or to go down to the market it takes you 2 hours. It's equal. It's equal to what you truly are. But it may not.
It's equanimity.
Yes, absolutely. So the political arena, it's just with Tara and I, we have no television. We don't know what's happening, except on the internet we hear
on
things
Facebook. On Facebook, I only found that I had to selectively remove about 13 people, and suddenly it was gone.
Right. Yes. Right.
It doesn't exist because the people that I mostly am interested in are not,
are not interested in the politics, right? So.
Well, thank you.
It's a play.
It's a play. I just have to say thank you.
Yeah. Hello, Barbara.
Hello.
Hello, Barbara.
Yes.
So you're right. I do ignore the current political context, but have a strong commitment to supporting and opposing some political social policies. To me, some political issues do matter. Okay, if some political issues for you do matter. So what is there to say? Did you have a question about this, or you just?
I don't know.
Okay. As long as you're happy, political issues matter to you, but if they don't disturb your happiness, that's fine. If it disturbs your happiness, I don't know, it's up for you to decide if that's fine or not. No one else can say but yourself. So I used to be very politically involved years ago. It was this body-mind is born in the Middle East, and of course, as you all know, it's a very politically charged part of the world. It's a Palestinian issue and many other issues. So yes, years ago I used to be very, very politically involved. And I would get like really emotional about it and really involved. It was beyond my control in a way. And I felt very righteous about it. And rationally, I knew that it made sense for me to feel the way I was feeling and to stand behind the actions and the positions that I stood behind. So it was very it wasn't just emotional. There was also an understanding. I had studied the politics of the area, and it was not just purely out of an emotional place and an identification place. I didn't feel that way. But something bothered me about it. It was unhappy. And I'm saying that after the fact, of course. At the time, I couldn't say what I'm sharing with you now. And I kept on looking at, because as you know, I was, from many years ago, was contemplating the self and trying to find a balance between how I felt about what was happening in the world and my contemplation of the self. And years, looking at that for years, and at some point, I saw, in a way that it was profound. I saw my identification. Somebody said something to me, and it went bing. I just saw my identification, and at that moment, the entire chapter came to an end. It was just quite amazing. And it hasn't surfaced again. So, still at the rational level, I understand, and I still can comprehend the injustices that are occurring. But the emotional charge is gone. So, I'm just sharing that. Barbara, you're right. I appreciate your comment that politics have consequences on some level. Yes, I think compassion would have us do what we can do to minimize suffering on that level. Maybe that is an illusion or ego. It depends. It depends, Barbara. In my experience, to act from a place that is not charged is important. Mm. And I'm not talking about not acting, but from what is the scene like for you internally, that place from which you're acting. I think that's important. And you will act anyway, whether you're acting from a charged place or from a place of peace, when there is that calling to act, whether it's coming from a certain charge or from a place of clarity. In either way, you will act. But I think it's a good topic of contemplation. Because there are unseen identifications that we have from our culture, from our family, from when we were children, from our schools, and they vary, from place to place, from person to person, from culture to culture, from state to state, etc. And we feel, of course, right about our view. And views that differ too much from ours, we don't have much understanding.
People who want to kill Jews, I do not understand.
So yes. I want to share with you that we don't choose where we are born, what experiences we have, what parents we have, what they do, what they say, how they act. We don't. A lot of that is sort of, we are served that in a way, and they all affect us. They're all part of, and we don't choose our thoughts. we don't choose our thoughts. We may think we do, but we don't choose our thoughts. Because, I often say that if you chose your thoughts, then you would choose happy thoughts all the time. Why would you choose an unhappy thought? And the fact is, we don't choose our thoughts. Thoughts just arise to us. So if we really contemplate that, then we contemplate that even the others don't choose their thought. And so the person who may act in ways that we completely disapprove with, and now we hate them. Our hate is misplaced because these people have not chosen their thought. So true compassion, I think, has to have with it the understanding that we are all droplets in the same ocean. All body minds are fueled by that one consciousness. Even the ones that abuse us. It's difficult to accept at the body-mind level. And of course, at the body-mind level, you do whatever you can to stop, to bring an end to being abused, and of course also to abusing others as much as you can. Because sometimes I have to acknowledge to myself that sometimes I have acted abusive, and I still do. Who am I to say that no? But so to the extent that is possible at the body-mind level, I am going to do my best to bring an end to whatever seems to be offensive in my space. And of course, to contemplate my own actions, contemplate the hurtful actions that I do. And the contemplation of my actions is often, we talk about that in satsang, in our meetings here. Because it is when I take myself to be a separate person that I feel, or the others are right or wrong, or the ones that are like me, I like them. The ones that are different from me, I don't like them. But it's all about this separate me, this separate self. That's, in a way, that's a personal contemplation that nobody can do it for you but yourself. And so we do it when that contemplation, we realize the importance of it. Similarly, we also engage in our life to do whatever is possible for us, whatever calls us, whatever speaks to us, in spreading the love. And the way we spread the love above all is by being the love. So that in itself has a radiance to it. There is a radiance to it that goes through people's veils. It touches people's hearts. It's like almost at the unspoken level, but not to be underestimated. That level where we touch each other in a way that the mind can't figure it out, you see. So I just don't believe in missions, because a mission still refers to me, a me. A mission, even a good mission, the holy missions, they still about me. I more believe in the love, acting out of love that flows. It flows In that moment, in the moment, you see a bird that's hurting that needs help, you pick it up, or you see a child or an elderly person. In that moment, that you see that, and the action arises from that place, from that place of love, of non-differentiation. And I don't mean that we have to wait until we become enlightened beings. No, because we already are the self. It's just to notice that when we have a cause, or when we identify as a person or a group or an ideology, there is some unhappiness in that. And the unhappiness, I don't mean just unhappiness here, because space is borderless space. When there is unhappiness, it's in the space. It's you can sense it. When you meet somebody that are unhappy, even before they speak a word, you can sense some some heaviness, some sadness. Maybe if they have some despair, you can sense it, because consciousness has no borders. So it's like you walk into the room, you see a light flickering, you can sense that flickering of the light, because it's just there in the space. So when you separate yourself with an ideology or with an identification, you have to see it for yourself. I mean, I'm saying that, but what matters is that you see it for yourself, not just that I speak it, because I may be speaking nonsense. You have to see it for yourself, that whenever there is some identification, there is an unhappiness. And how can you, from unhappiness, act with compassion or do compassionate action? Unhappiness cannot result into happiness. You follow? It's happiness. It's from happiness, or from peace, or from a place that is open, that there can be true actions of well-being for everywhere around you. So, yeah. Any way we go around it, we sooner or later come to the contemplation of the self, of truth, of the love, of the beauty, of the source. The source. The closer we are to the source, the clearer is the water. The clearer is the flow. The clearer is the space of being. We are the source. We are consciousness. We are that. And that has no borders. That is love and beauty. It shines through and through, like the sun shines onto everything. when the heart rejoices in that.
Okay.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you.
Hmm.
There is too much that we know, and not enough that we don't know. We need to not know more than to know. We need to not know more than what we know.
Mm. Mm.
You see, not knowing is not contaminated by knowing. There is a knowing, a knowingness that is not of things. It's not knowing of. There is a knowingness of knowingness. But it's not a knowingness of something. It's knowingness of knowingness, knowingness of itself. But we are loaded with knowing of things, ideas, beliefs, concepts, interpretations, conceptualizations. The knowingness of knowingness is the emptiness. It's the knowingness of the emptiness, which is the wholeness, the fullness. It's non-dissected, it's non-segmented knowingness. So the knowingness of the self is the knowingness of the wholeness of being. It's a whole beingness, a wholeness, beingness. So we need to unknow, know less and less. I don't know.
Mm.
Because not knowing has no borders to it. And it has no me. No me, because the me is something known, is a knowing, the knowing of something. This knowing of something is this me. So you could say that this me is a bunch of knowing things, an accumulation or a bundle of nodes of things, of knowing things.
Makes me look at anything.
Like a like a, what do they call it in English? When you go to the vine and you cut the thing of raisins, the bundle of raisins, some bundle of grapes, the bunch of grapes. Like the me is like a bunch of grapes, you know. Some has 50 grapes. Some are big, have 100 grapes. Others they have some good grapes and some bad grapes, or you know. And we are so proud of me, you know, my accomplishment and this and that. We like to, like we are like the le pan. How do you say that bird that puts his feathers up like that? You know, very beautiful feathers, like the
peacock.
Peacock, like the peacock. We like to be like the peacock. We show, look at me, see. But we don't realize that how that's our. It binds us. It limits us. It's our jail. You know, all our ideas about ourselves and our images about ourselves and our beliefs, and it's not happy. We always have to sort of shine, you know, polish it and show it and put it on the pedestal and hide all the things that we think are bad about us. Oh yes, I need to hide that. Hide my belly, hide my hair, hide my how I look, and hide my, you know. we do, don't we? I mean, it's
men of a certain age were very vain.
Yeah, so we overlook the love and the beauty. We overlook that which cannot be seen by the senses, but that we know as our being, as our heart. We overlook that. So we have to live not overlooking that, honoring presence. You can honor presence by being it, by recognizing your beingness. Not your being somebody. Who cares? But being somebody, some mortal body mind. No, your beingness that is not an object. The beingness that I am, the reality, the truth of being, the reality of the self, the reality of I. Not man, woman, 20-year-old, 5'6", fat, skinny, losing the hair or belly. No, not that. That which is not a limited thing. The reality of consciousness. You see, that truly hears these words right now, that what you truly are. You know that. You know that because that's what hears, that's what's perceiving, that's what speaks, that's what perceives. So that, I honor that. I recognize you as I, as that. That's a true recognition, and that's a true gratitude and a true appreciation. Not a bunch of grapes. Well, very, very beautiful to be with you and to celebrate being with you. And
thank you.
it's lovely. Okay, Lee, nice to see you and
See
all
you.
of you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Richard, Holly, everybody. Love you all.